To be accurate, we shall compare the followers of Muhammad of over 1,400 millions with the followers of Moses of about 14 millions, starting with the rise of Muhammadan Islam 1400 years ago. Muhammad started upon his mission of spreading his Quran in the year 610 AD. His tribe of Quraysh, as well as most of the Arabs of the peninsula, were illiterate nomadic or semi-nomadic pagans. When and where Muhammad was born, there was no civilization. The most literate and productive people in the peninsula of the Arabs were the Judaized and Christian Arabs. They were not only agriculturists and manufacturers, but also excellent traders, with their co-religionists to the north in modern Iraq, Syria, Judea, Palestine, the Christian Byzantine Empire, and the Sassanid Persian Empire. Muhammad died circa 632 AD, having had most of the Christian and Judaized Arabian tribes, indigenous Arabs, destroyed or exiled. His first Khalifa Abu Bakr needed 2 years of slaughtering Muslim apostates to subjugate all of the pagan Arabians to the terror of the sword of Muhammadan Islam. If one is in doubt, witness the sword on the flag of Saudi Arabia, the birthplace of Muhammad. In 634 AD, he was followed by Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Khalifa, during whose reign of about 10 years, the Arabs embarked on one of the fastest series of conquests in history up to that time. Not one of them was in self-defense, as they allege, since they were the first and foremost aggressors. It was Umar who ethnic cleansed almost the whole of the Arabian Peninsula of its native indigenous Judaized and Christian Arabs unto the present day. So much for another deceptive mantra of the Muhammadans regarding their otherwise non-existent religious tolerance. By the year 644 AD of Umar's assassination, they had conquered the Byzantine armies, wresting from them Syria, Judea, Palestine, and Egypt in the west, as well as Iraq and the Sassanid Persian Empire in the east. The illiterate and unsophisticated nomadic hordes of Arabia became masters of 3 ancient and enlightened civilizations within a decade, with unimaginable riches, booty, plunder, and slaves. Ladies and gentlemen, please be fully aware of the following extremely important points. The Arabs had absolutely nothing, either intellectual or spiritual, to impart to the conquered civilizations upon whom they descended like the plague of a swarm of locusts. On the contrary, it is they, over the subsequent decades and centuries, who gained knowledge of everything of value from their subject peoples. In modern Iraq, for example, there lived tens of thousands of Jews whose ancestors were displaced by the Babylonians from the kingdom of Judea in 586 BC. They were among the most cultured and literate in the area, with learning academies in several of the most important cities at Sura, Pumbasita, Nahardiyya, and Mahuza. It was in these academies that the Babylonian Talmud was compiled. The official writing of the Persian Sassanid Empire was Aramaic Hebrew letters, but the language was Middle Persian. The illiterate Arabs used the services of these educated peoples, Jews, Christians, and Persians, to help them run the administration, taxation, and communications of the occupied territories. The Arabs learned everything from them through the fact that the Christians, Jews, and Zoroastrians, whether they had converted to Muhammadan Islam or not, were the ones who translated the ancient works of their civilizations, be they Greek, Roman, Hebrew, Egyptian, Persian, or Indian, to Arabic. It was from amongst the subject peoples called Al-Mawali that their mosques, palaces, libraries, navy, architecture, hygiene, medicine, astronomy, arithmetic, geometry, navigation, philosophy, etc. were constructed and or disseminated. Without the one-sided and enormous contributions made by the subject peoples, the Arabs and other Muhammadans would not have been able to build further knowledge or even new knowledge without these earlier solid foundations. For Muhammadans to declare and pretend that they created the sciences and literature under Muhammadan Islam, as if from nothing, is not only intellectually dishonest in the extreme, but also obscenely illogical, immoral, and evidently false. As we have clearly established in our chapters 21, Myth of Islamic Civilization, and 69, Ilm or Knowledge, Muhammadan Islam is mired in the Quran and only the Quran, since they sincerely believe that it contains every item of knowledge from nuclear fission to geology, astronomy, biology, physics, psychology, oceanography, etc. It was the conquering Arabian hordes who burnt the hundreds of thousands of ancient manuscripts of accumulated wisdom and knowledge of the Egyptian civilization held in the Alexandria Library. Because as Umar ibn al-Khattab told his troops, if they contain nothing about Islam, they are worthless. They use them instead as fuel for bathhouses. The Arab Empire expanded relentlessly over the subsequent decades, and by the year 732 AD, occupying almost 9 million square miles of territory, slaughtering, subjugating and humiliating tens of millions of people on 3 continents. The turning point for Europe occurred at the Battle of Poitiers or Tours in France, our chapter 81, when Charles Martel defeated and reversed the tide of Muhammad's followers, thus saving European civilization from the darkness of fundamentalist Muhammadan Islam. Between the years 730 AD till 1430 AD, under the Arab occupation, there were numerous and important advances made in mathematics, astronomy, alchemy, philosophy, botany, and other subjects. Of the 80 or more scientists that we have records of, almost 90% were from the subject peoples such as Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians, Egyptians, and others who had either converted to Muhammadan Islam or remained in their faith. Only less than 10% were from pure Arabic stock. Most important of all, so-called believers and unbelievers. These advances were made by invariably secular Muhammadans under the auspices of more tolerant or more enlightened rulers. Several of these scholars were either murdered or exiled because they were not perceived as fundamentalist Muhammadans. The Arab conquest brought under one empire many civilizations and cultures that were able to cross-fertilize each other, not because of Muhammadan Islam, but in spite of it. From the year 1430 till 1950, an extensive period of more than 500 years, nothing of value was contributed to human knowledge in any field from among the hundreds of millions of Muhammadans on 3 continents. Nothing. Even the so-called Golden Age in Spain was not as golden as the Muhammadans would have us believe. The historical records show that these periods of sanity were overcome by others of insanity when Christians and Jews were slaughtered, forced to convert, or were exiled from the land of their nativity by the occupying Arab imperialists. Please always remember that it was the Arabs who occupied and subjugated the peoples of Spain, France, Italy, Armenia, Iraq, Syria, Judea, Palestine, Egypt, North Africa, Persia, etc. As imperialists, they were and still are among the most parasitic in history. They sucked the lifeblood of their conquered peoples, intellectually, spiritually, artistically, culturally, linguistically, and theologically, giving them back nothing more than their own nomadic, unlearned, and uncivilized desert culture. Throughout the last 1400 years, the Jews suffered persecutions and slaughter at the hands of Muhammadan as well as Christian fundamentalists, albeit at different periods of history in different countries. When they had safe periods under enlightened Christian rulers, they excelled, and the same went for the Muhammadan ones. At no period of their history did they allow their spirit to collapse or to give up, in spite of the fact that they were very small in numbers and had no one to protect them but the rulers of these states. At no time, throughout their 2,500 years of diaspora, did they ever forget or stop yearning for the establishment of the Jewish Commonwealth back in the promised land of their nativity and its capital, Jerusalem. Not once during the 1400 years of Arab and Muhammadan Islamic occupation of Judea, Palestine, did the followers of Muhammad ever make Jerusalem the capital of their caliphate.